Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Inept General coming to you with some Total War Warhammer news. So today we got the announcement and a little video on some of the things that will be coming with a big new patch out on Thursday with the release of the Norscan DLC. So let's have a look at what we've been told to expect with some of the things arriving in this new patch. Well, a lot of it is about balancing and kind of just updating the game to where it is now as opposed to where it was on release. So they talked a lot about generally changing a number of Legendary Lords upgrade trees. They talked about, I think, 12 or 10 of them. I think that number kind of changed, or I think it was 12 Legendary Lords were given new permanent campaign mechanics, and 10 of them were given different elements or updates to their upgrade tree. As well as that, there'll be obviously some balancing changes to some of the factions, and all we've really been given is a bit of a snippet about the full patch notes, which will be released tomorrow, and I'll cover those in full tomorrow. But I thought, why the hell not give you guys some of the preview of what we got today. So let's go down the list a little bit by faction. So Chaos in particular seemed to get a lot of focus during their announcement. The tribes of the Norscans are going to be much easier to subjugate. Archaon himself here is getting a new, one of the lords getting that new permanent campaign upgrade, but his isn't really an upgrade or an update. It's more of an update than an upgrade, and that's minus 20 diplomacy for all diplomatic relations. So that just makes it more difficult for Archaon to make friends. He's less likely to team up with the vampire counts and what have you in the campaign, it looks like. So that's him. And we also got this idea that I mentioned just before about instead of awakening a tribe, you're subjugating a tribe, which is making them your vassal. And so you get some income from that. And it makes them a lot more loyal to you than necessarily just having an alliance with the tribes that you awaken. So that makes things a little bit easier up north when you're just trying to maraud down south and you don't have to go back up to Norsca to try and sort them out. So particularly handy, try and get Wulfric on your side, subjugate him a little bit, and just take it from there. And apart from that, they mentioned there'd be a few other changes to Chaos, but this was about all they really told us that was going on, apart from the upgrade tree, which will feature some extra replenishment. So we're going to get casualty replenishment built into the upgrade tree, and it looks like a few of the lords are going to get extra casualty replenishment buffs to them as well, just to make it so that with your massive stacks of highly advanced armies, they're almost at the stage now where they can be self-sustainable. Now, you see this one and it goes along, and one has to guess that each one of the major steps on the Chaos upgrade tree is a casualty replenishment rate buff as well. Now, I'm a little bit torn about this one because effectively what it's doing is it's making the Chaos campaign easier. Now, it's stopping you from having to deal with annoyances in the Chaos campaign, which is fair enough, but also it's taking away a lot of the difficulty, which I kind of enjoyed for the Chaos campaign. Don't make it too easy, but regardless, this is what we're dealing with now, and I suppose it's a good thing. It just makes it a bit more accessible, the Chaos campaign, a little bit less of those annoying quirks, and hopefully we might see a little bit less chariot spam from Norsca now that they have a much more varied army on hand as well. Now we'll probably just see mammoth spam, which will be a whole nother bag of fun. So that seems to be some of the changes for Chaos that were mentioned in this sort of preview to the full patch notes that we're getting tomorrow. Let's move on to the vampire counts, and the highlight for me was very much Kemmler and Krell. Now, we got Krell a little while ago, and we were told when we were getting Krell that there would be changes to Kemmler's upgrade tree, but it looks like that's not arriving until this patch, which let's have a look at what that upgrade tree looks like now. So you see a new line's been put in, second from the top, and that seems to be a line just based around upgrading Kemmler. Now, you don't have to commit a lot of upgrade points to it. Each one is just a single point, which is pretty good. Now, we'll have a look at Undying Guardian here, and that essentially cuts his degrading, because as you guys know, all units summoned that get summoned onto the battlefield by the undead tend to degrade over time and lose health. This halves the time, and then you move over to Black Axe, which seems to halve the time again. And then you're building up to Eternal Bastion, which means that he doesn't degrade as a summoned unit, which is fantastic. There are some modders who made it happen already, but it's good that they'd intended that to be in the game all along. At least one has to assume that they intended that to be in the game all along. It just had to wait to this upgrade, and they just threw in Krell when they could without necessarily giving him the upgrade tree. Now, there's a couple we've missed in there. Immortal Challenger has the icon next to it that implies it just gives him a charge bonus. and the perpetual regeneration, one has to assume, is a healing aspect he might have, or just higher hit points, one of the two. So that about does it. So Krell looks like he'll get very much stronger on the campaign. I don't necessarily think that makes him competitive in the multiplayer, but we'll have to wait and see if they make any changes to him during that and his degrade time. So moving on from that, we also have the Necromancers under Krell. So I have to assume this is if you pick, not Krell, sorry, Kemmler. If you pick Kemmler as your Legendary Lord for a Vampire Count campaign, your Necromancers will have an added upgrade tree. At least that's what it sounded like. So I don't think these are applicable to all Necromancers now. I think it's just if you pick Krell as a faction Legendary Lord and you get some of these. So you have Lord of the Scourge and Thrallmaster, which effectively just make you more resistant, reduce recruitment costs, stuff like that. Nothing too major, but just make them a little bit better at being necromancers once they're summoned. Moving on to the Empire, a lot of it was talk about the Empire AI and how it never seems to stick around till the end game, which is completely true. And to combat this, they're saying they're making a number of different changes. The ones we got a preview of was, looks like Karl Franz is going to be given a new permanent buff, which is +2 for lords that he recruits. So that will help him recruit better generals straight off the bat. And as well as that, it looks like the Empire as a whole for the AI is going to be given the whole of Reichland, so you won't have the AI trying to fight the secessionists, and often, like sort of 50% of the time, they seem to either be crippled by them for the rest of the game or lose to them. So that's not going to be an issue anymore. So the Empire will start the whole of Reichland only in the AI games. This isn't in the player games, and that will just mean hopefully they'll stick around. So you might see Empire a bit later in the game if you're not playing as them yourself. The Dwarves, we got a little bit on Ungrim, 10% speed bonus for all infantry, that's his new permanent buff. And we got that the bolt throwers and the cannons are going to do extra damage versus large. Handy little upgrades, probably suit quite well, no problems with those. Wood Elves, apparently there's been a clamoring for Wood Elf followers, so that's what they've worked on. Wood Elves have their own unique followers now. A couple of examples they give was Vol's Anvil Smith, +20 armor, -3 movement range. And then you have the Young Stag, which is +5 leadership for the Lord and for the Lord's army. So yeah, some followers for the Wood Elves. Greenskins, Azag Grimgor, first of all, is given a new upgrade. He doesn't lose fightiness when in foreign territory. In fact, he gains it. And we have Azag, who has 10% research buff rate, which is pretty good. And then last but not least, the Minotaurs, we were told, are getting a cost reduction in both multiplayer and on the campaign. And that about really sums it up for all the preview information we got, guys. As I said, just a quick little update on the preview information. I will come back tomorrow with a much longer video once those patch notes are released, and we'll go through everything that's changing with this big patch on Thursday. So look forward to that. As always, guys, huge thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you all on the next one.